The badge printer at the registration desk jammed on my name for the third time, spitting out a strip of paper that read Dr. A.L., and I was still laughing about it when a voice behind me said, "At least yours prints something. Mine's just going to say, reject." I turned around to find a guy about my age, dark hair, wrinkled button down like he'd slept in an airport chair, watching the machine with genuine sympathy. "You're presenting today?" I asked, mostly to be polite. 2 o'clock, diabetic wound care outcomes. He said it like a confession. "You?" "Same slot, different room." He checked his phone, frowned, checked it again. "No, same room. I just got the update. They merged the low registration sessions. We're sharing 40 minutes. He looked at me like I'd personally arranged it. 20 each. That's not how 40 minutes works when I need 30. "Then I guess we're both about to have a bad 2 o'clock, doctor." He squinted at my badge, still hanging half-printed. "Dr. Al." I yanked it free before it could embarrass me further and stuck out my hand instead. "Rosa Delgado, wound care nurse practitioner, Fairview Regional." Theo Marsh, PA, same specialty, different zip code. His handshake was quick, businesslike, like he was already rehearsing his talk in his head. "I read your abstract, by the way, the one about offloading compliance. And? I think your sample size is generous for what you're claiming." I felt my whole face go warm in a way that had nothing to do with flattery. "It's not generous, it's adequate. There's a difference. There's a difference between adequate and convenient, too." I hadn't even had coffee yet, and I already wanted to throw something at this man, which, if I'm being honest with myself, is not usually the reaction I have to strangers I find unremarkable. I've had plenty of people needle me over the years, attendings who like to hear themselves talk, other NPS guarding their turf like it was sacred ground, and none of them ever made my pulse do this particular thing, somewhere between fury and attention. We ended up walking the same direction toward the session hall, not talking, both of us gripping our laptop bags like shields. When we got to the room, there was exactly one working outlet near the podium, and we both reached for it at the same time. "I need it for my slides," he said. "I need it because my battery's at 4% and I have data tables." "I have data tables too." "Fine. Flip a coin." He actually pulled a quarter out of his pocket, like he'd been carrying it for this exact purpose his whole life, and flipped it onto the back of his hand. "Call it." "Heads." It was heads. He looked personally betrayed by physics. The talk itself went better than either of us deserved, honestly, once we stopped glaring and started actually listening. His numbers on infection rates dovetailed with my numbers on adherence in a way that made the audience lean forward, and by the end we were finishing each other's sentences instead of correcting them, which surprised us both enough that we kept exchanging these quick, startled glances afterward, like two people who'd walked into the same room by accident and found out they liked the furniture. Afterward, in the hallway, he handed me a coffee from somewhere without asking if I wanted one, just because he'd gotten two and one didn't fit in his other hand. "You cited my mentor's study wrong," I said, taking it anyway. "Slide 11. "I cited it exactly right. You just don't like the conclusion." "That's not..." I stopped, because he was smiling, actually smiling. Not the tight competitive thing from that morning, something looser. "You do this on purpose. Pick fights to see how people argue." "Maybe." He shrugged. "You argue well. Most people fold by the second push. I don't fold." I noticed. We spent the rest of the conference like that, trading barbed comments over bad hotel eggs, ending up at the same evening sessions on purpose and pretending it was chance, arguing about protocols until 11 at night in the lobby bar while everyone else had gone up to their rooms. There's a particular kind of nerve-wracking honesty that happens with someone who won't just agree with you to be liked, who actually reads your work closely enough to find the soft spots, and I think anyone who's dated a pushover and then met someone who finally pushed back knows exactly the vertigo I'm describing. It's uncomfortable and it's a little bit thrilling and you don't know which one to trust. On the last night, we ended up on the hotel roof deck, both of us up there separately to get away from the closing reception. and the surprise of finding each other again felt less like coincidence, and more like the whole week had been steering us there. "I looked you up," he admitted, leaning on the railing, not looking at me. "After the first day, your publication history, it's better than mine. I looked you up too. Your outcomes data is cleaner than mine will ever be. So we're even. We're something." I turned to face him. "I go home tomorrow, and you go home to a different state, and this whole thing has been 4 days of arguing about wound dressings." "Best 4 days I've had in a long time," he said, and it landed so plainly, without any of the sharpness from before, that I didn't have a comeback ready. "I won't pretend I know how these things are supposed to go, whether you let the distance decide for you, whether 4 days of genuine argument is worth more than 4 months of easy agreement with someone closer to home." He asked for my number before the elevator came, and I gave it to him, and neither of us pretended it was just professional networking. It's been 4 months of texts about journal articles and terrible conference coffee and 1 visit each way since, and I still don't know if this turns into something real or just stays the best rivalry I ever had. But I keep thinking about that badge that wouldn't print my name right, and how sometimes the person who challenges you the hardest is the one worth turning around for.